Peace. I'm here with Brad, and we're on his homestead, and he's teaching us so much about medicine. And we had this talk about the soil quality the other day, and he's going to go into that real quick. What was we talking about? We was talking about the lithium, right?
Yep, we were talking about how there's a lot of mental issues with people in society these days, and I'm not even just talking like full blown chronic issues, but just unhappiness, unsettledness, and that a lot of that through my studies of soil and plants being food as your medicine, I came to through studying mineralization of soils that a lot of these issues come from the fact that we're eating food that is grown in unmineralized soil. And then I was having a conversation with a DO, doctor of osteopathics, about it. And he said he was doing a conference on that subject and how that they figured that they made a connection with lithium and how that it used to be that the majority of where humans were getting their food from at some point in time, those soils had those elements in it. It had lithium. It had these things that we make medicines out of now to correct those things, but they used to be in the soil, and the plants would uptake them, and then you would take them in an appropriate method, which was your food is your medicine, and you would feel better. So those things are missing from our diet now because our soils that our foods are grown in are pretty toxic on the most part, that from big commercial situations, and they're totally void of all of those necessary minerals. That's why they have to do things like spray vitamins on cereal or add vitamin D to milk, because they're not really naturally existing anymore, because we've depleted those resources out of soil by never adding them back in. And things you can do is like you can buy minerals for gardening, mineralize your soil back to a stable balance. There's a company called Logan Labs, and they're the company that most people will use, and they're in Ohio. So, and it's cheap. So you can get on Logan Labs website, dig a little chunk of soil up like they tell you to, mail it to them, and then they tell you what you have. So then you know what you're missing. And then you can start adding the mineralizations. For the do-it-yourselfers, you can get on the internet and you can find recipes where you use sea salt, because sea salt from the right place will have 91 minerals. And I believe that's about the top on the periodic table of the ones that we need are in these things that we already have available at discount stores and your cabinet maybe. And so there's little potions on the internet where you can mix maybe a cup into a gallon of water, and then that gallon of water becomes a mother batch for watering a 50-gallon drum, and you just use a little bit of that to feed that 50-gallon drum. So you're after the minerals, not the salt. So you can remineralize your gardens with cheap available things like sea salt or cheap available nutrients from a company that's already formulating them. It's way cheaper than a major operation or being on a pharmaceutical for the rest of your life.
So to sum this up, you're telling me that instead of taking all the different crazy medicines and things that they have out here, we could actually um, put correct our soil quality,
Yes.
cheaply, and start to actually grow our own foods. And within those foods, we'll have our medicines that we need to be to love and work and to live correctly. You
Yes, sir.
understand? Because the Creator has already put into the earth all the things that we've needed, but through over the times, we those things that we need have been depleted, and so it's about getting soil quality together to get our mind and mental quality together. That is amazing, and it has me looking at it completely different. You know what I'm saying? So
And you can
yeah,
do this in containers. You can
wow.
do this anywhere. You can do a whole field, or you can do an appropriate kind of container for growing in a clay pot. You can do it in a clay pot. You can do it if you have an empty lot near your place. You can have mulch dropped off and leaf debris dropped off, usually for free from your city. You
Wow.
can make little raised beds right on top of whatever's there and not dig into it. So then you're growing in from the top down, so you're not disturbing what might be funny and contaminated down below. you're rebuilding a mineralized growing element from above.
Yes.
And then once you get the right mycology going on there, that'll happen naturally from bringing in native plant debris for your compost, like maple leaves and wood chips and lawn clippings. All that stuff will create an ecology that will break down the toxins in most soils. You should, that's why I say get a soil sample test to know where you're at, and then you know how much you have to add. And the soil sample tests are cheap. They're not cost inhibited.
That's great. That's
great. Everything we do, we focus on affordability and the ability to do it for next to free.
That's peace. That's powerful, man. This is amazing information. I mean, it's been class for me. You've been teaching me a lot on, all the different plants that are growing around you. And this area, you was telling me about how rich this area is in the medicinal, plant area. What's going on with this area?
Yeah, we have a unique situation that happens here with the topography, where we're one of the largest bends on the Ohio River. We're at some odd, maybe 40-50 miles away from the southern edge of glaciation, and not too far upriver we have Pittsburgh, where the two rivers, the Allegheny and the Monongahela, meet to form the headwaters of the Ohio River. And so as the bird flies, we only are maybe 6-7 miles from the Ohio River. And because of all of those things, we've got an Amazon rainforest kind of ecosystem, where we have a huge amount of humidity. We have diversity that's been pushed down from Canada on the glaciers from the north. We are near the northernmost edge for a lot of species that will come in from the south, and the same thing for the east. And so we also have this phenomenon where our topography really only goes up to 800 feet or 1,000 feet, and then you drop down to another valley. So we create a lot more valleys in a closer space, giving us what we refer to as microclimates. And we live in a place where our ecosystem, this is referred to as the Appalachian Cove Forest, because each little hollow creates its own cove, its own microclimate, and allows its own diversity. So like each little hollow will be its own whole community of species. And depending on how big or small, it might house a very unique plant community that really only sustains because of that small cove, that unique topography. And so that's what makes this area, Meigs County, some of southern Athens County, some of Gallia County, Washington County, Marietta area, pretty unique in its jungly atmosphere for the summertime, where we'll get a lot of matching humidities and temperatures. And it creates this rainforest effect, where even if it doesn't rain, there's enough moisture and humidity that everything's covered in dew in the morning, so everything gets a little drink, and it does rain too. But so that's kind of what we got going on here that makes us unique, and we have some large populations of existing medical plants or medicinal plants that are here because people have always kind of focused on that here. We're located near the university, and we were also isolated enough where people had to be sustainable on their own here and learn these things, because if you work on a farm, you're going to cut your fingers. If you're picking blackberries and raspberries and stuff, you're going to poke yourself. So you need to know how to heal quick without pain, and our resources are right out here in the forest. And so people just learn and pass that knowledge on. But the fact that we have such an abundance really makes it easier. You don't feel so pressured that this is the only one of these, because there's 30.
Yes.
Or there might not be 30 other places, or 1,000 or thousands. And so, and it's always been a counterculture place. It's always been that. And so there's always been encouragement to live outside the fringe and to do what you want to do. And this is what a lot of people here want to do. Is they want to steward and protect the land and increase the native plant population while protecting the forests that are already here. And there's a lot of good teachers and a lot of good community, and we're going on like 3 generations of folks that were not from here doing it. Folks that moved in from New York, folks that moved in from Minnesota, from all over the place.
Paul,
And
Paul Strauss was, you've been talking to me about him and how he started a movement here. You said that he had went to Woodstock.
yeah,
And then he had an awakening, and then somehow he ended up in this area, right?
yeah, he was hitchhiking around the country after that. He's from New York City, grew up in New York City, the full deal, and went to Woodstock, had an epiphany awakening movement, and started hitchhiking around the country looking for a place that he could grow plants, live off the land, learn the old ways, escape the trap.
Yes, yes.
He had to start somewhere. He knew he wanted to learn to grow his own food. I believe he was in New Mexico, and he was like hitchhiking around. He was with these folks, and they were heading back to Ohio University to go back to college in the fall. And he said, yeah, I'm just looking for a place that I can grow ginseng, and there's an abundance of herb and good affordable land. And they said, well, you should come back home with us, because that's everywhere where we live.
Yes.
And he's like, well, I want the counterculture too. And he's like, no problem, we got you covered. And
Wow.
so he rode back here with them and got here at night, woke up in the morning, got to see all the big hillsides and the pockets of forest, because it's changed a lot then. A lot of forests have grown back. And he said, okay, this is the spot. And because of him and other folks like him, we've all had the opportunity to stay here and be encouraged to keep going, because everything gets difficult.
Yes.
Especially your own life, and when you're trying to scratch it out of what you got around you, and that's all we all have.
Yes, man. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Like I mean, all our conversations have been amazing. Like, we've been talking for the last day about different things. The lithium really took me to another level, and Paul Strauss, just this area, how rich it is, and even walking around and looking at the plants, I'm like, wow, look, I never seen so much echinacea growing. So this is amazing. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Justice.
You know what I'm saying? This is, keep teaching me. This guy's teaching me. Thank you, Isaac, for introducing us. You know what I'm saying? And this is peace. This is powerful. And on that note, we're gonna get out of here. Peace.